The goal is not to quit your job tomorrow. The goal is to stop letting one paycheck control your entire life. Think about the last time your paycheck hit your account. For maybe 2 seconds, you felt okay. Then the rent took its piece. The car payment took another. The credit card minimum came next. Then groceries, gas, insurance, subscriptions, and if you have student loans, those too. And before the month was even over, the money was already gone. You were already waiting, already counting days until the next deposit, already doing math in your head that never adds up the way you need it to. That is not a spending problem. That is not a discipline problem. That is a structure problem. That is what happens when one single source of income is carrying the weight of your entire life. One job, one paycheck, one fragile thread holding everything together. And the moment that thread gets cut, everything falls.
Most people living paycheck to paycheck are not lazy. They are not irresponsible. They are working incredibly hard. They are just working inside a system that was never designed to make them wealthy. They were taught to earn money, not to build it. They were taught to work for a paycheck, not to create cash flow. And that one difference in thinking, that one shift in money habits, is the exact reason why rich people and everyone else keep moving in opposite directions. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in human history, built his fortune not by working harder than everyone else, but by building income streams that worked while he slept, while he traveled, while he did nothing at all. He understood something most people never learn. Millionaires do not depend on one source. They build multiple income streams. They create assets. They think about cash flow, not just salary. In this video, we are going to walk through Warren Buffett's 7 income streams, the exact categories of income that wealthy people use to break free from the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle and build real financial freedom. Not theory, not inspiration, practical math.
This is the income stream most broke people ignore because it looks too slow. Dividend income is money paid to you simply for owning shares of a company. You buy stock in a business, and that business pays you a portion of its profits on a regular schedule, every quarter, sometimes every month, whether you worked that day or not. Warren Buffett has collected billions of dollars in dividend income throughout his life, not because he worked for it every morning, but because he owned the right assets. Here is the emotional truth most people miss. When your rent goes up, when your car payment increases, when your credit card interest compounds, none of those expenses care how tired you are. They arrive regardless. Dividend income works the same way, except it works for you instead of against you. It arrives regardless of whether you showed up.
Most Americans with a 401k already own some dividend-paying stocks without even realizing it. The problem is the amount is too small to feel meaningful, so they stop paying attention to it. That is the middle-class trap. Ignoring small numbers because they do not feel significant yet. Wealthy people think differently. They start small, they reinvest every dollar, and they let compounding do the work over time. Warren Buffett has said the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Even starting with $200 a month in dividend-paying index funds changes the trajectory over a decade. The practical application is simple. Open a brokerage account. Start buying shares of companies or ETFs that pay consistent dividends. Reinvest automatically. Do not touch it. That income stream starts as a whisper. Over time, it becomes a voice. And eventually, it becomes loud enough to drown out the sound of your next bill arriving. Your paycheck stops when you stop working. Dividend income does not.
This is where the middle class gets trapped on the wrong side of the door. Rental income is money earned from allowing others to use your property. The person paying you rent every month is not building wealth. The person collecting it is. That is the uncomfortable truth about the housing market that most people feel but never fully articulate. Every month you write that check to your landlord, you are funding someone else's income stream. Now, this does not mean you need to buy a mansion and become a real estate mogul overnight. That is not the point. The point is to understand which side of the transaction creates wealth, and then to find whatever entry point is realistic for your situation. Warren Buffett has spoken about real estate as a legitimate vehicle for building long-term wealth. Not because real estate is magic, but because it is a hard asset that produces cash flow, appreciates over time, and can be leveraged. That combination is rare.
The traditional American path is to buy a home, pay it off, and that is it. Wealthy people think differently. They look at property as a cash flow machine. They buy a duplex and rent the other unit. They buy a small home, move out after a few years, and rent it instead of selling. They use short-term rental platforms to generate income from rooms they are not using. The entry points are smaller than most people think. If rental income feels completely out of reach right now, start with understanding your mortgage options, your local rental market, and what a small investment property would require. Build the knowledge first. The asset comes after. One paycheck disappears the moment you spend it. A rental property generates income every single month, year after year.
This is why working harder is not always the answer. Business ownership income is money generated by a business that you own but do not necessarily operate hour by hour. This is the income stream that separates people who trade time for money from people who build systems that make money. And it is the income stream Warren Buffett built his entire fortune on. He did not run every company he owned. He bought ownership stakes in businesses with strong fundamentals and let those businesses generate income on his behalf. Here is the painful reality for most Americans. You can work 60 hours a week and still have nothing to show for it at the end of the year, except exhaustion and the same bank balance. That is because hours are finite. Systems are not. A business that runs without you is an asset. A job without you is just an empty desk.
This does not mean you need to quit tomorrow and start a company with no plan. That is recklessness, not strategy. But it does mean you need to start thinking about whether there is a skill, a service, or a product you could build into something that generates income beyond your personal time investment. A small online business, a local service with a team, a franchise, a stake in someone else's growing business. The common mindset says, I need more hours. The wealthy mindset says, I need better systems. One is a ceiling. The other is a door. Start by identifying what you already know how to do better than most people around you. That gap between your knowledge and someone else's need is where a business begins. It starts small. Everything does. But a business you own is an income stream that can outlast any single job.
This is the part nobody teaches you in school because it did not exist yet. Digital asset income is money earned from things you create or own in digital form. Online courses, digital products, content channels, ebooks, templates, software. Assets that are created once and sold repeatedly without requiring your time every single transaction. This is the income stream that did not exist a generation ago and that millions of people are still ignoring right now. Think about what that means. You spend 40 hours building something once, a detailed guide, a practical course, a set of templates for something people desperately need. And then that thing sells while you are asleep, while you are at your actual job, while you are at your daughter's school event. The digital economy has removed the physical constraint that once made passive income available only to people with large amounts of capital.
Warren Buffett has always valued businesses that have what he calls a wide moat, a competitive advantage that protects income over time. Digital assets, when done correctly, create exactly that. Your course on a specific skill becomes the go-to resource. Your channel becomes the trusted voice. Your product becomes the default tool. These are not lottery tickets. They are deliberate assets built around real knowledge. Most Americans have knowledge that other people would pay for. They just never considered packaging it. a practical skill, a professional process, a life experience. The common mindset says that kind of thing is for influencers. The wealthy mindset says any knowledge that solves a real problem can become a digital asset.
Money disappearing after every paycheck is a symptom of living only in the physical economy. Digital assets give you a presence in an economy that never closes.
This is where rich people quietly separate themselves from everyone else in the early stages. Skill-based income is money earned by applying a specific high-value skill on a freelance or consulting basis, outside of your primary employment. This is not a side hustle in the glamorous sense. This is a deliberate second income stream, built on something you already know how to do, deployed in a market that will pay a premium for it. Warren Buffett invested early in himself. He studied, practiced, refined, and built a reputation for expertise long before he had significant capital to invest. The return on investing in your own skills is one of the highest returns available to anyone at any income level. That is not motivation speak. That is economics.
Here is the truth about paycheck to paycheck living that most financial content avoids. Sometimes the math simply does not work at current income. The rent is too high, the car payment is real, the student loans are not going anywhere. In that environment, a second skill-based income stream is not optional. It is structural survival and the first step towards something better.
A marketing professional taking on one freelance client per month. A project manager consulting for small businesses on weekends. A nurse doing telehealth consultations outside of regular shifts. An accountant handling personal tax returns during season. These are real, executable income streams that require no startup capital beyond the knowledge you already have. The common mindset waits for a raise. The wealthy mindset creates a second income source while still earning the first. One skill deployed strategically can break the paycheck cycle faster than almost any other move available to most Americans right now.
This is the mistake that keeps one paycheck controlling your entire life, never owning anything you create. Royalty income is money earned every time someone uses something you created. A book, a piece of music, a patent, a licensed process, a branded system. Every time that thing gets used, sold, or accessed, you earn. Not because you showed up, not because you traded time, because you own something with ongoing value. Warren Buffett has built much of his investment philosophy around owning things that generate income continuously, without requiring continuous labor. Intellectual property is one of the purest expressions of that principle. You do the work once, the asset earns forever.
Most Americans have been conditioned to believe that royalty income is for musicians and novelists. That is a deeply limiting belief. A professional who writes a detailed process guide and licenses it to companies earns royalties. A developer who builds a piece of software and licenses it earns royalties. A trainer who creates a certification program earns royalties. A photographer who licenses images earns royalties. The category is broader than almost anyone realizes. The emotional weight of working hard and watching money disappear comes from a system where your income has no memory. You earn, you spend, you start over. Intellectual property breaks that cycle because it creates income with memory. Something you built 3 years ago can still be paying you today. Start by identifying what you know, what you have created, or what you could document in a way that others would pay to access or use. That is the beginning of intellectual property income. Your job forgets your value the moment your contract ends. Intellectual property remembers it every time someone pays to use what you built.
This is the income stream most people understand last, and wealthy people understood first. Compounding investment income is money that earns returns, and then those returns earn returns, and then those returns earn returns, creating a curve that starts nearly invisible and eventually becomes unstoppable.
Warren Buffett has called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. He started investing at 11 years old. He has said his biggest mistake was not starting earlier. That context matters. Here is why this income stream is last on this list, but arguably the most powerful over time. Every other income stream you build, every dividend, every rental payment, every freelance dollar, every digital product sale, becomes significantly more powerful when the surplus is fed into a compounding investment vehicle, a 401k with consistent contributions, an IRA invested in broad market index funds, a taxable brokerage account that reinvests automatically. The vehicle matters less than the consistency.
The common American pattern is to earn, spend, and save what is left. Wealthy people invert that completely. They earn, invest a fixed amount first, and live on what remains. It is a small behavioral difference with a massive long-term financial consequence. The emotional pain of paycheck-to-paycheck living is not just financial. It is the feeling of working hard and having nothing to show for it. Nothing building, nothing growing. Compounding investment income is the antidote to that feeling, because it means something is always moving in your direction, even when you are not actively managing it. Even $50 a month invested consistently over 20 years in a broad index fund creates a number that surprises most people. The math does not require wealth to begin. It requires consistency and time. Generational wealth is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built in small, consistent investments that compound over decades, while everyone else is spending everything they earn.
Let us be honest about what the real trap is. The real trap is not your job. Plenty of wealthy people have jobs. The real trap is depending entirely on that one job, that one paycheck, that one income stream to carry everything. Because when that single source is all you have no breathing room. You have no protection. You have no options. And without options, you have no real freedom. Rich people do not only earn money, they build systems. They buy assets. They create cash flow from multiple directions. They protect their time by letting their money work in their absence. They think differently about income, not as something that comes from one place, but as something that flows from many places simultaneously. Warren Buffett did not become one of the wealthiest people on earth by working harder than everyone else. He became wealthy by thinking differently about what income is, where it comes from, and how it compounds over time. That thinking is available to anyone willing to adopt it.
You do not need to build all 7 income streams at once. You need to build the next one, whichever is most accessible to you right now. The first additional stream breaks the psychological grip of the paycheck cycle. The second builds confidence. The third builds real momentum. And one day you will look at your bank account and realize that money arrived today and you were not even thinking about it. That is financial freedom. Not a number, not a retirement age. The feeling that your entire life is no longer controlled by a single deposit every 2 weeks. If one paycheck can destroy your peace, one income stream is not enough.
Drop this in the comments right now. I will build income, not just earn money. That one sentence is a declaration. It is the difference between the mindset that keeps you stuck and the mindset that starts building. Subscribe to How the Rich Think if you want to understand the money habits, wealth mindset, and income strategies rich people use to build financial freedom. Every video on this channel is a lesson that the wealthy already know, and most people were never taught. It is time to close that gap.